Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is The Power of Etiquette and Manners. My co-host, Mr. Philip Sykes, has the day off. So I am privileged to welcome back a fabulous guest and wonderful person. She is joining us from California bright and early. Her name is Dr. Miluna, and she is a Forbes book author. She is also an executive communication coach. She's a professional singer, and she has so many other talents that we're going to talk about today. We're going to be focusing on communication when it comes to etiquette and manners, things that all of us can really grow from and take to heart and implement right away. Let's welcome her to the program. Hi, Dr. Miluna. How are you?
I'll say good morning from the West Coast. Good morning, good afternoon to folks in other time zones.
Yes, and good evening too to some people. We have people all over the world. It's truly amazing. Thank you for coming back to see us. I'm really excited to explore this topic with you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be back with you today.
For folks who didn't see the other show, of course, they can go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV. And I would love to spotlight you and have you share a little bit about your extensive background. I know we could be here for days upon days with everything that you've accomplished, but I'm going to leave it to you to open up wherever you'd like to start.
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. I am one of those curious folks, and it seems like I need to go do things and work at jobs and experiment in order to be able to understand and test it in the marketplace, I say. I have done 9 to 5, retail, sales, let's see, food taster, the person who gives food samples out at places like Costco, actor, singer, served on nonprofit boards. I learned to do real estate, flipping and investing, energy work, holistic health. My spiritual journey has been long. And I think I'll stop there because it sounds like that's a lot. And sometimes folks will say it's a lack of focus. Well, it's not a lack of focus. It's just you focus on one thing at a time. And everything I've ever done has brought me to this place. So the work I do with executives, most of what I'm pulling from is being an actor and singer. Because what you do as a performer is observe people. I'm always observing people and listening. How did they say that? How did it land for the other person? How did they react? How do I feel when someone says that to me? So I think my showbiz background is probably the best training ground for executive communication, presence, and of course, camera work.
I love everything that you just said. I have explored many things in my life too, a lot of side gigs, and I have had several men, of course, say to me that you don't know what you're doing. You don't have a focus. You're not centered. And I said, no, I like to explore different things, learn different things. How can you experience life if you're just sitting doing the same thing all the time? So kudos to you, doctor.
I agree. Some of us are not a Mozart. Some people know exactly and go right into it. But I would say a lot of the women I know, especially, they've done a lot of things and they're extremely successful. And as you said, everything has brought information and training and experience to the work we do now. Nothing is a waste. Everything is added up.
Yes, exactly. When I think about being a broadcaster and hosting a television channel, there's so many things that I've done in the past, the side gigs that really added value to what I'm doing today. So I'm forever grateful. And it seems as though you feel the same.
Absolutely.
Doctor, I'd love to explore this whole concept of communication. And there's been a period of time where I feel the way that I was brought up and educated to speak has sort of gone by the wayside. Hey, dude, what's up, bro? What's up? All kinds of very casual language. And I feel that it's important for us to have a certain standard in which we communicate to each other and show each other respect. What are your thoughts about this in the work that you do as an executive communication coach?
I could not agree more. I was raised to address people as Mr. or Mrs. or even, I think even that was before Ms., which would be the appropriate title or greeting now, because we don't want to define a woman as being married or not. That's really none of our business. So now we have something for men, Mr., and for women, Ms., and we have doctor in the case of you and I. And then there are other things for folks that identify otherwise. But certainly, perhaps you feel the same way. I am still shocked sometimes by how people speak to me. And the book I wrote, and I know we're going to talk a bit about that, I am on a mission to restore respectful, civil dialogue to our society. We have just become, to me, it's like teenage language, bunch of dudes hanging around. Hey, bro, what's up? Hey, dude. Hey, guys. We're not dudes. We're not guys. It's not a flattering term even for a male person if you look up the word guy. Pardon me. I think we're doing a lot of damage. We don't understand. We might be offending folks. We don't seem to understand that there are informal countries, the US being one of them, and there are formal countries and cultures. And we need to expand what we're saying to include everyone and not leave people out.
I love this. Brilliant. I feel as you do. I take offense, and I'm just putting it out there publicly, and I've said it to you before. I'm Dr. JACALYN. That's my brand, Dr. JACALYN. It's registered. And people will come on and say, hey, Jackie. No, there's no Jackie here. Do you see Jackie on the screen anywhere? And I don't like to be called Jackie. Even off, when I'm not broadcasting, I don't want to be called Jackie. And people think JACALYN immediately is Jackie. Now, something that I do is if I meet someone, their name is Bob, I'll ask them if they'd like to be called Robert or if they like to be called Bob, because sometimes people prefer and people will share that. So I try to be really respectful of how people like to be addressed, and I would like the same for me. And I'm sure you feel the same based on our conversation before.
We did mention this before, didn't we? Exactly. Folks are so quick to just say, hey, Miluna. Like you, it is Dr. Miluna. You and I have earned it. We have paid the big bucks. We have asked people to address us in a certain way. Yours is actually registered. And I wonder when we decided it was okay to be so informal. And what you said is exactly the answer. Simply ask people what they'd like to be called. This shows professionalism, maturity, and courtesy and respect, all of the above.
And that goes a long way because the other person realizes that you care, that you've taken the time to ask and then address someone the way they prefer to be addressed.
We never forget how we feel, do we? How another person showed us that ultimate respect. Just ask. It's so simple. Just ask. What shall I call you? What do you prefer? And sometimes folks will say, well, it doesn't matter, or I don't have a preference. I will still press forward and say, but you must have a way that you like to hear.
Yes.
your name in a certain way or said in a certain manner. Let me know what that is, because it does matter. I realize some folks don't think too much about their voice. My voice I created. It's Miluna. It's, some people call me My Luna. It's Miluna, and it's very easy to watch a video to see how I pronounce it and that the correct way to pronounce it. And I created that name after having a tumor in my head and feeling a need to rebirth myself. Names have great meanings, and I think we don't want to jump over those so quickly.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us and for being so brave and authentic.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if we can take this discussion that we're having now and expand it somewhat to talk about the work that you do with your clients. And if you can share with our audience, when it comes to effective communication, when it comes to listening at a higher level, what are some of the things that you work with your clients on in this area?
The place that I always begin is a presence practice. What happens is our ego wants to protect us. That's its job. And sometimes we get nervous or we're uncomfortable. People get very uncomfortable in what I call an improv situation, which is where you can't prepare. You're put on the spot. You don't know how to respond sometimes. And so our nerves can come into place and we become what I call the dreaded talking head, which means that your heart is not in the equation. You've lost your connection with the audience. You have left your body. And at that point, our intelligence goes down remarkably. We're not thinking, we're not in the moment. The ego is running amok. And we need to learn to take a breath. I like to invite my clients to think of their big toe, wiggle that toe, get back in the body, back in the breath, get the circulation going again throughout the entire body, a beautiful energy flow. And that's where it starts. Not in the past, it's over, nothing we can do about it. The future we can dream about, we want to plan, but it's not yet here. The biggest gift you can give your employees, your partner, your board members, your investors, your friends is to be in the moment with them. Give them your attention.
That's great direction. Thank you. When we think about a leader, a public speaker, motivational speaker, and they are speaking to a large group of people, at which level do they communicate? Do they communicate to whom they think is the average demographic of the audience? So in other words, if a person is used to communicating a certain way with big words, long sentences, as opposed to younger generations. I think I shared this with you. I've had several bosses when I was in corporate, they were younger and told me I needed to have fewer words with less letters. So when we think about communicating effectively, at what level do we present ourselves as communicators?
It's a dance, isn't it? Because you want to do incredible research beforehand. Ask as many questions as you can about the demographics, the psychographics, and tailor it to that audience as best you can. Now, having said that, if there are all ages and all backgrounds, let's say, cultures, then I would do my best to advise my clients, or I would do this myself, to have different ways of reaching the audience. So perhaps you have a PowerPoint, but I like to throw in an old-fashioned paper board that I write on, the big paper pads, if you remember those, or you can have one of the little erasable pads that you show in person or on camera. Maybe you walk back and forth on the stage if you're live. But it's your job to find out as much as you possibly can. And at the same time, be true to yourself. So probably you and I, Dr. JACALYN, we're more formal and we've been trained in a certain way. And so for me to become very casual would not be who I am. So we can turn it down a little bit. Perhaps hello becomes hi. We can be a little bit more informal that day. Maybe our dress code is a little bit more casual so that we are in touch with the audience. But the most important thing to me is to still be who you are. Find out the ways you can reach as many people in that audience as you possibly can, and always stay true to yourself at the same time.
Thank you. Thank you. I knew you would answer that way because it is so important to just be who you are. You can't put on some fake person and show up and expect to have the audience really be in alignment with what you're saying, because you're not even in alignment with yourself.
It is true. It's true. Your personal expression, your integrity, that is still paramount. It will come across as fake, as you said, if it's not who you are. So we can't compromise. And I know Dr. Brené Brown, let's see if I can remember how she said that. Someone asked her to show up and speak in a dress, and she wasn't allowed to curse. Now, for those of you who know Dr. Brené Brown, she is from Texas, and she usually wears cowboy boots, and she does curse. So she turned that speaking gig down because that is not who she is. And I applaud her for that. She's true to herself, first and foremost.
What are your thoughts on what you just mentioned about cursing? When we think about etiquette and manners, when, if ever, is it appropriate to curse? Is it appropriate in the public domain? Right now, if you and I just started using swear words, is that appropriate?
So many opinions, aren't there? I was just reading a column about cursing in LinkedIn, and they did a study. I think it is generally not appropriate. Now, I can certainly curse with the best of them, and I wrote that in my book. Folks are sometimes shocked because I'm a very polite person. But in certain audiences, the only way to make the point and have the frequency that I want would be to curse. But generally speaking, some folks are very conservative. They're religious. They're offended. And if I'm speaking to a religious group or a conservative group or perhaps an older crowd, I would be very, very strategic if I used a curse word. I probably would not. And if I did, it would certainly not be an F-bomb or something like that, because you take a risk is what I really want to say. You're taking a risk that you'll lose your audience from that point on.
It's a great point. We've had several people curse on this platform, and of course, I didn't know it was coming, so I couldn't prepare for it. But yeah, you just have to keep going on. And I do think to myself, was that really necessary? Could you have found another way of expressing yourself? But I guess that's the way that they express themselves. So no judgment.
It is a good point. Yes, no judgment. And that's apparently how they roll. I know I was on a board meeting last week, and now this is a very religious Christian type of organization. And the one woman kept dropping the F-bomb. Probably not the best use. And if she's always speaking like that, then it's not someone I could hire, because I could not trust her to be a woman hating, things like that. There are just things I will not say.
Thank you for clarifying that. We're going to take a break, but before we do, I just want to touch on proper etiquette and manners when it comes to communicating over video. So as we know, we're using mediums like StreamYard and Zoom much more frequently. And in some cases, we see people showing up. They just got out of bed. They're in their pajamas. And hey, it's something else I'd love for you to comment on, because this is sort of a hot button for me, a trigger, is when people show up to a video meeting and they're late and they have to interrupt the whole meeting by telling us that, that they're late when we already know. What are your thoughts about that?
So true. We just made that jump to virtual. We were pretty much forced into it, weren't we? What I like to say and teach my clients, if you wouldn't do it in person, don't do it on the Hollywood squares here, I call it. We can see you. So if you're eating and you're not looking at the camera and you're talking to somebody off camera here, you've got your cat, you've got a baby, you're actually on the cell phone while we're supposed to be having a meeting on Zoom. We can see you. If you are in a casual t-shirt and you consider yourself a professional, for me, that's a deal breaker. You're too casual. As Dr. JACALYN just said, your pajamas are on, you look like you didn't comb your hair. Folks, try to be at your best. If you need to take a nibble of something, you can pop off camera. We don't want to hear excuses about why you're late. Do not interrupt the meeting. Just things do happen. Emergencies do come up. Just get on that, get in your spot, get on your camera as quick as you can, and begin to integrate within the room, just as you would walk in an in-person meeting late. I like to start meetings on time for those who have the respect and the time management skills to show up. So I don't believe that we should be penalized because we came on time.
I agree with you. That happened recently in a meeting. Someone showed up late and then they were on their phone for a lot of the meeting. So I had to turn their camera off because I thought that was really disrespectful, but I wasn't going to interrupt the meeting to discuss that. So I just think people should be aware that if a meeting is called for a certain time, be there on time, be ready to go. And if something happens that you can't make it, which things happen, things come up, you get stuck in traffic, you can't get back to your computer. Don't announce why you're late, because we really don't care. We just want to get to the business at hand. And then also something else I'd love to have you weigh in on: when you've missed a lot of the meeting, don't hold people at the end asking a lot of questions that would have been addressed during the meeting, during the part that you weren't there. What are your thoughts about that?
Absolutely. Yes. Sometimes the meeting can be recorded, so that latecomer, we'll call them, can go back and listen. But yeah, it is completely irresponsible and immature, and it doesn't make you look good if you're looking for promotions and leadership. And first of all, you can't show up on time. And of course, there are emergencies and things that come up. We don't want excuses. Everyone else managed to get here on time. And it just makes you look bad. It just draws more attention to you. So staying late is like staying late for school. It's like a punishment. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you're a mature person, an executive, you want to show up as respectful, you want us to respect you, then let's show courtesy. Be a professional, be an adult. I'll keep repeating that. We're not here to be your mama or your dada, okay?
Thank you so much. That was brilliant. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'd love to talk about your book and have you read from your book as well. Would you be open to that?
Thank you. Love to do that.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to take a break, as I mentioned, and we're going to start with a clip that I've been playing quite often because I feel like it's so relevant and it's a good reminder, and it's called Take a Moment. Let's take a moment, and we'll be back shortly.
Take a moment.
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 Take a moment. Take a moment.
Take a moment.
Take a moment.
Take a moment.
Take a moment.
Take a moment.
Take a moment.
So I've had the privilege of photographing some incredible people over the years, and during each shoot I've asked the subject to close their eyes and take themselves to a peaceful place just for a few seconds. I've found that this really helps to refresh the energy between the camera and the subject. They had an energy that was quite special and quite different from the rest of the shoot. The collection grew, and now it feels the right time to use it for something good. I think it'd be amazing if we could help to raise awareness and involve people in the discussion about mental health. So what we're asking to do is for everyone to upload their own self-portraits. All of these portraits will become part of a massive artwork. I'm really excited to see this project go from hundreds of pictures to thousands of pictures. Essentially, an ever-evolving artwork that says we're all in this together.
Close your eyes and take a moment.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Garden. Your host, Diane Boehm. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Diane Floyd Boehm tells wonderful stories that warm the heart, spark the imagination, and unite people and families across generations. For children, Diane's Harry the Camel connects with all of us who've ever wondered how different our lives might have been if only we'd been born something better, like a wonderful horse instead of an ordinary camel. In the end, we all learn along with Harry that there's nothing better than just being yourself. Diane's Little Girl in the Moon looks down on earthbound children and wonders if they know she's just like them. A story of love, home, and the bond between mother and daughter, its powerful theme that we're each of us different yet all of us the same plants a seed in children that promises to blossom within a loving and trusting grown-up. Diane's new biography, Rise, recounts the experiences of her grandmother, Ruby, to reveal the hidden strength of the human spirit. Ruby's story inspires all of us to become the best versions of ourselves. You'll find all of Diane's delightful books and much more at dianefloydboehm.com. Visit dianefloydboehm.com. That's dianefloydboehm.com.
Publishing approached me and said, we think you should write a book and we can publish it for you. And I don't know how they find people, but it felt right. And they interviewed me and did a book outline. And I thought, with this structure and with what I've learned over all these years, I think it is time to write a book. And the purpose is to help business people, executives, business owners, executive directors of nonprofits who are intelligent, highly educated, savvy, sophisticated, well-traveled, heart-centered, and thoughtful. This book is for them to know how to introduce and lead and find their own voice and express themselves and take their own movement out into the world, making everything better.
Thank you. I love that. Would you like to read from your book?
Thanks for asking. That's my little girl voice. Thanks for asking. It's so fun to read and actually sign the books. I had my first book signing. It's quite a thrill to sign your own book. Such an honor. I'm going to read from chapter 7, The Brave New World of Introductions and Leading Virtually. Oh my gosh, and let me show you. Oh, is that to camera?
Yes, beautiful.
Was that to camera? Thank you. I'm reading from page 93. What does it mean to introduce others? It means that you are in a position or have accepted a leadership role. This is not the time to skip over, make fun, or give sloppy introductions because you are not in your power. The audience will think less of you for it. You are the authority, so act like it. Enjoy the role that you have. You get to set the tone or the atmosphere for your meeting. I invite you to completely change your thinking and approach to the art of introducing others. Think of making an introduction as an honor. Be generous with your introduction. This is an opportunity not only to demonstrate your leadership savvy, but also to acknowledge others. When you come across as a generous person, people will like you. What you put out there will circle back to you. And if you can shine the light on others, you truly are a powerful person.
Wow, I love that. The way you read it with authority. And I meant to ask you this before. I know I asked you on the other show, but for people who are wondering, what is a Forbes book author? Can you share a little bit about that?
Oh, yes, it means the Forbes brand. So most of you have heard of Forbes magazine and all of that, the brand, the credibility. So it just means that I happen to publish a book with Forbes, and it's called Advantage Media.
It's quite an honor. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
We spoke a little bit before this show about audience and what we want the audience to take away from the program. So how would you sum that up today?
I think let's tie a bow on this. We're always watching, and we are seeing you, whether in-person meetings or on these little squares, the Hollywood squares that I call them. And some folks are judging. Some folks are thinking about themselves. But we're always making an impression. And what I want to invite us to do is set an intention before a meeting, before an interview, before meeting folks, before starting your day. Because how you show up is going to affect your day, your confidence, how you feel about yourself, and it will influence and impact everyone you meet. So if you are feeling good about yourself, you're in the love space, when I work with Marianne Williamson and was certified by her, she says there's either love or a call for love. So I want to do my best to be in my heart, my intelligence, my kindness. And when you do that and you respect yourself, honor yourself, love yourself, and do the same for others by showing courtesy, honor, respect, asking, what shall I call you? You really show up as a powerful person that we want to get to know, that we want to do business with, and you make a difference in our lives.
Excellent. Thank you. What about following up with the host or the speaker? How should we behave in that regard? So someone gives a speech or someone's hosting a meeting, we attend the meeting. Should we follow up with them and give them feedback?
It depends on the situation. If feedback has been asked for or it's customary, then yes. Otherwise, I would not. If it's something, well, let's say if I wanted to know the person better or wanted to follow up or have another conversation, then I would follow up with thank you and 2 or 3 things that were very specific that I learned or that I loved. I would certainly make it a positive comment. But to critique or give unasked for feedback, to me, that would fall under the category of rude and unasked for.
Thank you. For me, when I go to my workout place that I go, a certain program that I follow, I will go up to the instructor afterwards and say whether I thought it was great or not, because I'm judging by how many calories I burned and if I feel like I really got the most for my money, but I will still go up and say, thank you. This was really a great class. I love the playlist. I like the fact that you did that. You included this move, because I feel like it's important to give some positive feedback, but I would never go up and say, well, that was a waste of my time and money, or how do you end up working here? Anything like that is not productive.
Yeah, that's a great example. I happen to work out with a jazzercise instructor, and now it's virtual. And she always asks for feedback. So I love that you brought that up. How was the music today? How was the set? Did you get a great workout? And she really does want that feedback. So as you mentioned, we table it with complimentary first. And then if we have a question or a comment or how could we do better or they do better, then we move into that in a beautiful way.
And I'd love to end on that, if we can elaborate a little bit. When we have to give feedback and the feedback is going to be constructive, how do we use effective communication to deliver the message? So an example, someone dropped the ball, someone didn't make their numbers, someone was disrespectful, whatever it might be, and we're in a position where we need to coach the person. How do we give that coaching in an effective and respectful manner?
Yes. A couple of things I want to highlight. I do like to begin with something more positive, and that's subjective. Yes, positive, negative, that's a judgment to me as well. But we understand what that means. So I would begin with something that the person did well or part of the meeting that was handled beautifully. And then I would move into the sensitive part of the discussion. Now, there is something that we need to speak about, and I'd say it's something like that. And what you want to do is separate the person from the behavior. When we receive feedback from someone that's very aggressive or doesn't know how to give it, immediately our defenses go up and we do get hurt. And we can't really hear the feedback because we're too busy protecting ourselves from being more hurt. So, for example, if the person is very soft-spoken, I will deliver in a more soft-spoken way. and I will say, here is the behavior that didn't work for me. So again, we're separating. It's not you that I'm critiquing. Love you. You probably wouldn't say that, but some of us do. Here's the behavior, and here's what we need to see changed. And then ask them, what do you need to do to work at this level? Do you have the support you need? Do you need a tool? Do you need a new computer? Because sometimes folks are shy about asking for support. Some of us don't like to ask for help, and we maybe don't have everything we need or the information that we need to truly do a great job. And if you approach it that way, people want to do a great job for you. Most folks, we want to rise to the occasion and to the expectation. Help us do that.
Thank you so much. I love everything that you just shared. I personally will say, if it's true, and I feel this way, I like you. This is not about you. This is not personal. This is something I believe will help you grow in your career. And I'm providing this feedback based on my own experience. How open to hearing this information are you? Oh, I'd love to hear that. As opposed to, wow, you really messed up on that one.
Exactly. And we know that can be a leadership style. And what folks need to understand, that's just not going to work with a lot of people. And they probably won't tell you.
Yes. And to your earlier point, when you're giving feedback in that type of manner where you're sort of aggressively delivering the information, people physically will withdraw. They'll you can see their whole body moving back, and now they're no longer listening. Now they're thinking about, wow, I feel so hurt, or I'm embarrassed, or I don't like that person, or I don't want to be here anymore. They're not listening to the feedback because it hasn't been packaged in a way that they can receive the information.
That's such a great point. You can literally see people contract. And for those of us who want so badly to do well, we're wired that way. We can go into a place of shame and guilt and feel like a kid and begin to shut down. And this does not lead to great relationships. And leaders who don't have the flexibility to shift the way they give feedback for the audience and for that particular person, not a great leader, actually, not somebody who should be leading people.
And you had touched on this earlier in terms of effective communication. Part of it is being a good listener. A question I have for you, because this is actually something that I deal with on a regular basis. I teach people how to listen, but on this platform, there are many times that people will talk for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and they don't stop to refer to the host. And I struggle because I don't want to be disrespectful. So in another setting, when we're not on a television or radio show, how do you deal with that when someone is going on and on and on, and you're being a good listener, but the person is just, they're talking too much, and many times that's emotional. They're just rambling on and on. So how can you be an effective communicator and an elevated listener without being disrespectful to the other person?
Great question. I hear you. Many folks do ramble. They go on and on. They do not understand. It's a dialogue. It's an interview, especially, is not designed as a monologue, meaning me and I'm speaking. In acting world, a monologue is just me acting out a scene by myself. So let's always remember that it's a dialogue. And if someone is just going on and on and on and not taking a break and not including you, then I might politely interrupt. I might say something like, I don't mean to interrupt here, but let me take us in this direction. Because they obviously don't know they have two ears and one mouth and should be listening, and we're in a relationship here. But I think at that point, you really do have to interrupt in a polite way, figure out a way to do that because some folks will take the entire meeting off track. And as the host or the leader or the CEO, you've got to keep folks in the time. So if it's a 1-hour meeting, it needs to be 1 hour, and not let somebody derail and not let somebody personally take over. It's a matter of setting boundaries in a kind way, reeling them back in.
Yes, that to me is the key word, boundaries. And if we give the boundaries up front, I think then it's more likely they can be adhered to. In personal situations, I know for myself from in the past, this is where emotions start to escalate because one person's going on and on and on. And then you try to interrupt, and then they're insulted that you interrupted, and then, and then it just goes out of control. But in a business setting or a more formal setting, I think it's easier to keep things on track by setting those boundaries up front. And time is money, so you only have that hour slated for this particular topic. What thoughts do you have for people who might be going through something like this? And obviously we're not having a therapy session right now, but for people who are in personal situations where the communication is going off the rails and they really want to be able to have some dialogue that's productive.
In a personal setting, yes, it depends on the relationship, doesn't it? Such tricky ground. Because we want to stay in our heart space. And I find that if I'm feeling that emotion or the frustration because I feel like I'm being talked at, somebody's preaching to me, somebody's telling me this is the way I have to do my business or run my life. And we don't like that. My personality, I definitely don't like that. That is their opinion. And what do they know about my life or my purpose? They may not know me well enough to even be saying things like that. I think some folks are in love with the sound of their own voice. And some of us are much more extroverted in communicating, and some aren't. But I think what you said, to set it up, is a wonderful exercise to do, to practice that. Well, let me share a little bit about myself, and then it'll be your turn. And then if they say something that you love and that you find you could comment on and find a common ground there, then I might break in and say, oh, I just have to say something here. So keeping your heart and your courtesy to the best of your ability. But I know that I have interrupted folks once in a while, and they were offended. So I think that's on them at that point, because I'm not being rude and I'm just attempting to go deeper with this conversation. I don't want to keep it at a shallow level. Our time is so precious.
And sometimes people are afraid when you want to go deeper. They don't want to go deeper. They don't want to have to do the work.
Yes.
Great points.
So then maybe we politely excuse ourselves at that point.
Yes.
And go speak with someone who wants to have a meaningful, deep conversation.
Excellent. Yes. And you have a special offer for our audience. I'm going to put that up. Can you please share a little bit about this wonderful opportunity?
Oh, thank you. For those of you who love games and contests and puzzles and research and surveys. Okay, it's very simple. For some of you, you'll be one of my first people to get my new book. We launched just on March 22nd. So the book is available at your favorite bookstore. Once you have my book, take a picture and write a couple of sentences what you love about it or how it's changed your life. Put it on your favorite social, tag me, let me know, and you'll be entered into a contest to win a one-to-one private exclusive coaching session with me.
Well, how lovely is that? Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so this information is here up on the social media sites. So please do reach out and take advantage of this fabulous opportunity. Dr. Miluna, I'm going to spotlight you again. And for people who are listening on the radio, because we're on 3 radio platforms now, or they can't read the banner, can you please let people know how to get in touch with you and who you'd like to contact you?
Thank you so much. My website is my name, Miluna Fausch, Miluna. Fausch is F like fantastic, AUSCH, milunafausch.com. My office line is 831-920-1607. I'm on all the social platforms. LinkedIn is Dr. Miluna. You can also email me at Dr. Miluna, no period, Dr. Miluna at milunafausch.com. And I want to hear from executives, senior management, business owners, CEOs, those of you who would love to have a conversation about up-leveling, evolving, and enlightening your communication presence and presentation skill.
Fabulous. And thank you for making it so easy for people to contact you with having your name be the way to reach out. Many times people will have every social, they have a different handle, and it's so much easier when it's succinct and clear, like effective communication.
Oh, I appreciate that. My branding's simple.
Well, it's been a great having you here today. And I know you're coming back for the film and music show. What can we expect to learn from you there?
Yes, I haven't thought too much about that yet, but I'm going to dive into all my years as an actor and a singer, from my opera days in college, my music business degree, all the way to the East Coast jazz, where I perform jazz with my pianist, Chris. I might mention the Cabaret Network of Washington, D.C. Who knows where we're going to go with that conversation?
Fantastic. I love it. I love it. So stay tuned for that. Thank you again for being here. I look forward to chatting with you backstage.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, everyone, whether you're watching on the live or you're watching later on the replay or you're listening. We are just so happy to have you here. And our purpose is to bring hope and inspiration and education and entertainment. We have a full program for you today. We are back to back. And then, of course, we stream Mondays through Fridays. So this week we have 28 shows. If you happen to miss any of them, please go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV, and subscribe so that you can watch and learn. If you'd like to be a guest on any of our shows, please go over to our website, which is yes, that's right, usaglobaltv.com. Book your session. Thank you so much. Please be good to one another. Please respect each other. And remember to ask someone how they would like to be addressed. That will create an amazing memory, and people will think very highly of you for doing that. Thank you again. We'll be back just shortly with our next show. Bye.